All right. Well, hello everybody. We're about to get started on page 5. I've got my iPad in front of me. I think we're going to get finished with page 5 actually today. I've only got one panel to go and I've already started it and I'm getting through it. But I wanted to show you something. This is the Kubert School Online Studies program. This is not like the correspondence course, and it's also not like actually going to the Kubert School. It's something kind of in between that they started doing during the time of the big lockdowns back in 2021, and I've been taking great advantage of it, and it is Kubert School Online. Now, I've taken classes from Fernando Ruiz. I've taken narrative art multiple times from different teachers. I've taken many classes from this guy, Giovanni Valletta, and I highly recommend all of those. I don't know anybody else. What I'm about to be taking is traditional inking on Wednesdays with JP Buzio. And he's got some good stuff. The fall session begins on the 9th of October, and I'm looking at my screen here. That means the first class will be the 11th of October, and it'll be for the next 6 weeks after that. And it's done through Google Classroom and Google Meet. And this will be, like I said, traditional inking. I've actually taken traditional inking before, but it was with Joe Prado, and I learned a ton in that class, and I was still... Oh, I left a couple of details out, but I'll go ahead and cover what I can remember now. This is the page we're working on. Yeah, those Kubert Online courses are really good. They're about $220, and they last for 6 weeks. And the general format is you take the course, and you get a couple of assignments early on that you have to do. And then you turn those in and you get critiqued, and that's the rest of the course. Throughout the rest of the course is you're getting critiqued on things. And I found that immensely useful, depending on who's doing the critiquing. They all do it differently. And by the way, the tougher the better, It's very helpful. What's going on there? So... it takes a long time to get good at anything. And it's okay to kind of suck at it at first, in my opinion. Maybe for a long time. Maybe we'll always suck at it. I think that's just one of the facts of life. All right. So I've got my pencils here. I'm going to get rid of them for a second. Just take a look at this. Yes, so this monolith thing over here is the same as this monolith here. I don't know if you can tell. And I've just got to figure out how to map the design onto the other side, but keep it in perspective to the greatest extent that I can. Now, obviously, the smart way to do this would be to actually draw out a big perspective grid and do it. But do I do things the smart way? No. I'm not doing it in a bad way. Let's see. Taking a look at what I got. Plus, it's a non-Euclidean shape anyways. So if we do it wrong or we do it terribly, you can always fall back on that as an excuse. That's what I'm all about, making excuses. All right, here we go. All right, we're tracking. Things are going okay. So the dimensional stela, what is this object? Well, it's not really explained in the comic exactly, but it was in the previous comic. What you can gather from it is these were placed. They're ancient artifacts that denote the borders. Like a stele was a stone marker that denoted a border. These denote the borders between dimensions and stabilize the dimension. This one was sitting in Pellucidar. And it enables a a boundary between this dimension and, you know, the whatever the adjacent dimension would be. But there's other dimension hopping strategies you could use, and in fact, there was a whole dimension network in 9-Volt Heroes. It was laid out by this guy named Thaddeus Van Ruin. And are we still in perspective? I think we're close. All right, I think we're doing good, but I think we just have to fill in some greeblies. And yeah, looking good. I do have, there is another thing I have to do. First of all, I have to do an energy effect around this thing as they're dropping the concealment spell around it. It crackles with energy, right? It lights up the room almost. And bringing this stele to the Fuku's prison realm enables Fuku to escape, or actually to dissolve the borders of the realm. So that's the cool thing about this. That's the whole point of this part of the plot. Now what's going to happen next is we've got to get right into it. We're already on page 5, and we've got to get right into the central conflict of this story. And we're going to spend another page 6 as they're saying their goodbyes and, you know, talking to Fuku about stuff and revealing more secrets about the story. These are the remaining 11 pages. What's going to happen immediately is we have to have a battle between Stardust, who you might know as the Super Wizard, and Prometheus Powers. So right away, we have to go in and commit to the battle. It's got to happen. They're going to cross into their next dimension to leave. Now that the previous story is over, they're going to their next story, and then that's when Stardust ambushes them somehow, and there will be a knockdown, drag-out battle. Which, by the way, the stakes is high, as De La Soul would say. The stakes is high because, if you recall in the previous page, the Time Spider suggests that the battle must be combat to the death, right? So combat to the death, and Stardust isn't bothered by that at all. In fact, he's looking forward to killing his nephew if he can. And why does Stardust want to do it? He needs the royal armbands of the Titans that Prometheus wears. He surmises that Prometheus is the weakest of the Titans, and he could easily take them from him. And is this true? Well, we're going to find out. And I personally do not think it will end up being true. But I will tell you, I don't actually script out that far in advance. Like, I think about this plot in terms of large movements of story and characters, and then do I pre-script the outcome? Not necessarily. Sometimes it comes down to a single panel. I could have it go this way, or I could have it go that way, right? There's like a tree of life motif going on here. And other than that, things are going really well. My new book, Silver Ball, is coming out this month. We're in September, right? As soon as I get the cover to that done, and I've already started it, and then the cover to 9-Volt Adventure Awaits is coming out as soon as that cover gets done, but I am not finishing the cover on that one, so it might take till Boy, I'll be disappointed if it takes us all the way to October, but you know what? If it takes October, it takes October. And this story is set up for 9-volt Weird Arcana. It's not easy managing these little tiny comics anthologies, but one of the things you have to learn is flexibility. You know, not everyone's going to be operating at the same level of urgency as I am. So what can you do about that? Well, you can work on your own stuff, you know. That's one of the main things that you can do. And just because other people are working at a different pace, that doesn't mean you have to match their pace. Especially if you're faster. Or if you're getting more pages done. And that enables you to keep going. Now, if you're slower, same deal. Same deal applies. I watched the Christopher Runciman stream, and I was looking at what Marsh actually created out of that, which is a rose from the bloom. Was it a rose from the gray? Rose in the gray? I think it was. And it was done. He had used a jelly plate and done like a jelly print, which I do jelly prints. I've done jelly prints for 10 years. He did a jelly print of like a sort of a yellow and white, and then he drew over it and inked over it, and he got this incredible like depth to it with this graffiti. And what it really was to me was the palette that was involved, because it was yellow and white was the real colors that were on the original thing. And then of course as he's adding black and he's adding gray and then he's adding white as a highlight color. And then of course the rose was red, or it was like an off red, as I recall. It's great, and it shows the power of the palette, you know, when you're choosing your color palette. I'm not good at color. Everything I do is black and white. So, you know, one of the impetus for me learning oil pastels is to figure out color, because you're not drawing outlines. When I draw, I tend to think of drawing as an outline. But with oil pastel and with paint and with gouache, you know, as I was doing gouache for a while, with color, you're drawing light. It's different. It's completely different. Let's do some Jack Kirby style greeblies. Eraser. All right. So you're coloring light and you're coloring whole forms at once. Just laying in things, you know, and then you're layering. It's worth looking into and figuring out. Maybe not even, you know, people spend their whole lives trying to become a master of such things. And I have taken a bit of a noob's approach by focusing my efforts on you know, oil pastel especially. But pastel, I don't like the dust in the regular pastels. I did some regular pastels just recently, and I could show you some of those. But boy, they feel terrible. I was like, I had like a little spritzer bottle and I was spritzing my hands because they don't feel nice. Like chalk pastels, they do not feel nice. All right, this is some of my recent things. This is, by the way, this is glassine paper. So this is an oil pastel, and it's okay. I was gonna send this to my mom, but I decided I didn't like the I didn't vary the palette enough. It's all greens and yellows, and we put glassine paper, just protects it. This is dry pastel though. This is that chalky pastel. And I think this is kind of a success for me, for a pot of me. This would maybe not be a success for somebody who's really good, but that was done on multimedia paper, but I don't know if you can see it. I don't think I have the nicest range of pastels myself. And you know, some of these are good, some of these are not so good. This is another dry pastel one right here. And I sprayed this with a fixative so it doesn't, you know, shed dust everywhere, but there's a lot to learn. All right, well, enough of that. Accidentally, I accidentally shut off my recording before we finished it. So, anyways, we should hide some superhero symbols in this, or some symbology into this. One of the most important symbols being the Superman shield. Let's do that one. The Man of Steel. It's kind of funny. You can find the Superman shield in the strangest places. If you remember that Hanna-Barbera character, Mitor, who I've kind of based my Unga Bunga character on, he wears a necklace with a Superman shield on it. I don't know, is the S too much? I think the S might be too much. Instead of putting the blatant S on there, let's do this. Let's just do the negative areas. Oops. I think in a sense Superman belongs to us all. Hey, speaking of public domain, did you see the Bill Willingham news, and what does that mean? Well, I think it's kind of cool. Fables was already an experiment in public domain because it was already using public domain characters. Um, but it was one of the major success stories for DC, and DC just kept jerking them around. It's interesting to see the phraseology that Bill Willingham used when describing his parting of the ways with DC. He said, "I fired them, and I released my works into the public domain." Pretty cool. This is, as somebody mentioned, it's at least as big as the Image comics revolution that happened in the 90s. It's yet another reason why corporate comics are terrible, but also why corporate comics can't really get around. They don't have creatives working there. They don't. Everybody's a contractor. Their entire that was their solution for dealing with the Image people, is to make everybody a contractor, and you just do work for contract, work for hire. Um, what they did to Gary Friedrich over Ghost Rider is, in my opinion, criminal. This is what Marvel did, not DC, but at the same time, it's all of them. So I salute you, Mr. Willingham. Anyway, pretty cool. Oh, let's make some more shapes inside here. Every shape I do, every time I draw this thing, I'm going to have to be like going back and finding references of it to redraw it. You know, when it comes up again. It will come up again, too, this particular obelisk. It will not stay the possession of Zuku for very long. But I just don't know how it'll happen. Okay. let's go ahead and do the oh, you know what we should do? Let's do another line here. We present you with your freedom, right? We present you with your freedom, and then he'll identify it. The dimensional stele of Pellucidar. And bring this down 14 point. Let's bring the letting down 6 minus. Now, I am running into a problem here. I've gotten all three of these lines are all bold. So in order to, it's great to have them yelling. However, if all three are yelling, then nobody's yelling, right? It's all the same. So we have to have at least two of the lines. We return to regular type. So the one that's bold stands out. There we go. All right. Now, what do we do as far as energy effects? Well, okay. First of all, let's do this. Where's this? Oh, chapter 2 is that right there. Let's go ahead and get their bubbles in. Get dim bubbles in. Technical pen. Are we on the right? Yes, we are. I have not sprung for the Itai Monero speech bubbles and effects pack, but I think it's coming soon. I think the next comic I'm going to use it. So I'll buy it just before I get it. Get it just before I start on that comic. I'd rather not change the style halfway through or have to go back and redraw everything. So we're just gonna. It's $20, but it's still. You gotta plan your purchases, man. All right. Not perfect, but not bad. We can fix that. Of course, nowadays, most of the pros use Adobe Illustrator for lettering. Which I eschew in my goal here is to make things all in one, one program to the greatest extent I can. So it's all Procreate until I have to use Adobe Acrobat to PDF it. All right, this is looking okay. Well, here's the question. Do I need to do the room? I don't know if I do. In fact, I could do some focus lines, but they'll be partials because we already got this energy effect. So let's fix that real quick. We're going to do the partials. Canvas, drawing guide, edit drawing guide. Delete. Right there. Okay. We're on this chapter 2 thing. Let's make sure that we have rusty nib. I do. A deer. There we go. This is kind of an old school Silver Age style of emphasis, right? This is a Vince Coletta thing right here. All right. So we see the light kind of shining out. All right, looking good. Turn off the assist. Turn off the drawing guide. And then, just to balance the black, some good old Kirby crackle in there, too. Not a lot. You don't have to go overboard. I was going to have an aside line. I don't think I have enough room to have it, but I was going to have Abrax here going, woo! I was having a hard time suppressing all that power from the Dimensional Stella. So when you touch the Dimensional Stella, it would normally teleport you away to protect itself. But Bloodhound suppressed it in the last appearance back in 9-Volt Monsters. However, a Titan, like Prometheus Powers, could touch it without being teleported. And also, that's why Stardust was the one that they had hired. Stardust, the uncle that will also appear in this comic, to transport it. Okay. There we go. Are we done? Could this be page 5 that we labored 4 days on one panel, and then we got the rest of it done in like 2 days? All right, very cool. Please like, follow, subscribe, and I will be following up on things. There'll be more comics every day. Tomorrow I'll be driving Saturday. We're going to get started on page 6. I'm probably going to try and pencil pages 7 and 8. Well, when I say pencil, I draw very rough at the beginning stages. So I'll try at least rough out pages 7 and 8. And I will even get started, we hope, on the cover to Silver Ball, Auspicious Beginnings, which is the number 1. And yeah, we'll think about whatever comes next. What's going to come next, man? Please like, follow, and subscribe, and I will talk to you later.